Do you remember Maschine Studio? Hey, what's up? I'm Dilio, and this is my sort of video talking about the Maschine Studio, a review, if you will, of something that I don't currently use right now, but I still treasure very much. If you've been a longtime follower of this channel, you might have seen me sort of try to do a fund for this. This was at the time where it was like kind of really hard for me to get extra cash to save up for something like this. And I was on the MK1, and I was starting to have those MK1 problems that you have with Maschine, where the knobs were going bad, and if you bumped that USB jack in the back, it was over with. And I went through this whole thing of trying to replace the whole USB jack. I mean, I literally took that thing apart because I just did not want the downtime of not having a Maschine, because that was my thing to jam on, was a Maschine at the time. This was during like the 1.5, 1.6 era, and they thankfully one day I was able to finally get this, and it's like hard to let this go. You be like, oh, well, just sell it. It's good. Well, if you're anything like that, you can let me know in the comments below if you feel that way. Some things if it's hard to get, and it's hard to let go. And I had a lot of fun with this thing. I mean, just look at this thing. Look, I mean, imagine sitting this in front of you. You know what I'm saying, with the color pads. And I skipped the MK2 generation of the Maschine. If you remember the MK2 reiteration Maschine, it was more like the MK3 size format, but you had color pads. And if you remember the original Maschine, it was only orange pads with the blue group buttons, and then you had dot matrix displays. Of course, they updated all that. But this, you had two really good screens right there that looked pretty cool. These buttons were very clicky. They improved the buttons. You had this big jog wheel, and you felt like you had a command center. And you was like, you know what, this could have been what the Renaissance could have been, because I think the Renaissance had like kind of a dot matrix display, and you had a bunch of cue points. But I'm telling you, this was really empowering. This empowering when you had this in front of you. There's a ring that lit up bright white right there, and then this came in two colors. I mean, you had the black one, you had the white one, and you had some really nice metering right there, and you could select your sounds, your groups, the master or the cue. You could select all what you want right there, and you could change the pitch right here at this jog button. You had to kind of do some shift commands to make things happen. But I remember when I had those things down where I could kind of shift and command, and chopping samples was fun on this thing. I definitely had a lot of fun with this. And it makes me wonder, why did they stop making these? Why did they where's their game plan to kind of say, okay, we don't need to make any big. I mean, just look at the back of this. You got three MIDI outs, so if you wanted to hook up your MIDI gear, you could. You had foot switches on. I mean, it really felt flagship. And I think maybe we're in an era now where size doesn't necessarily mean flagship. And I have to ask myself, why didn't they do like a Studio 2? Or maybe they could be making a Studio 2, but I don't know if they're doing that, if they're keeping everything on the Maschine Plus size format, which is very close to the MK3 size format. Any piece of gear is portable if you wanted to. I mean, if you want to transfer a heavy keyboard, you can do it. If you want to take which on a plane, you get a good hard case, secure that thing, you could take it with you. This definitely isn't as portable, but I don't think this was meant to be that grab and go unit. This was the unit that you sat down in your studio. It was right there in front of you, and you could enjoy it. And that's what this format was right here. And I had a lot of fun with this thing, making tracks on it. And I do wonder, like, why didn't they keep doing this? And of course, with the Maschine MK3 and the MK Plus, you have the ribbon controls. The knobs are improved. Probably all the knobs are improved and stuff like that. I didn't deal with knobs going bad on this like how I did in the MK1 controller, but I imagine there may have been some issues with this. And and then gear that's painted white, it's a little bit more difficult to keep clean. It's harder to hide dust on something like this versus like the black version of this, but it was still a lot of fun to work with. And definitely it could definitely turn my head if Native Instruments would come out with something like this. But I don't think this is their game plan, and I think that because NI is such a wide company, I don't think they're going to focus a lot more resources on doing this, because they don't think that size equals production quality, which is true. I mean, you can make amazing music from the size of a device that's the same shape of your cell phone or the thinness of an iPad. So you don't necessarily need to have anything this large. So maybe this is a relic of the old school where there was a time where the bigger the gear was, the better it sounded. You know, that's what made it sound good, is by how large and how big the gear was. You know, if the gear was big, you had big sound. And for a time that was, because electronics and all that stuff needed that space, because, you know, at the time, I don't think we knew how to make it that small. And now we're making everything super small, super micro size. So with that, you know, you have to ask yourself, man, I really wish that they would just do another device like this. So let me know in the comments, like, do you still have one of these? Do you still use it? Do you wish that Native Instruments would make another one of these, or you think they're going the right direction with the MK3 size setup and the Maschine Plus size setup? I do like this. Another thing is, to me, you know, because you can't help but compare this to Akai equipment, right? I mean, it's automatic that people think this. And as you can see right here, you know, I wish that, you know, Akai did something the size of this, but in this format. So this is kind of like the style of those MPC 2000, 3000, right? That sort of size, but it's kind of shrunk down a little bit. So you got your portability, but it's not like that kind of that big 3000, 2000 size, you know, and of course technology's changed, so it doesn't have to be as big anymore, but definitely having that sort of default pad sizing was satisfactory. And, you know, it's almost like I wish that Akai would do it in that size, but then you got the MPC X. So this sort of is that kind of that MPC X size. And of course you do pay a premium for that size, but that's what you're getting, what you're paid for. You're getting a flagship device. And so I think Native Instruments is not quite trying to call it their flagship anymore with this, even though I think it was. And it was a fun time when this was a flagship, but I see that NI has moved on, and I too have also moved on, but I can't move on without, you know, just giving this device some love, a shout out and some respect, because I had a lot of fun creating on this. If you go back on my channel, you can find old videos of me using this thing, doing tracks, and you never know, I could want to bring this out for old time's sake. If there's a software update that turns my head and say, maybe I want to try it on this, but, you know, I fear the day that this would no longer be supported. But, you know, I think that if I could predict something, you can let me know what your predictions are in the comments below. But I think that maybe there will be a time where somebody will homebrew up something that will interface with something like this. It'll be very niche, very kind of remote, but, you know, there could be somebody that says, you know what, these are really good controllers. Somebody could use this. I'm going to see what I can do to hack this thing to make it do what I want it to do with my own software. I believe that time is coming. If you think about video games, like, for example, if any of you are familiar with Street Fighter, right? I know there's buzz about Street Fighter 6 right now. But if you remember the original Street Fighter 2, there was like a Rainbow Edition that was all hacked up, and it was like sold because people couldn't get the original because it was that hot of a game. So a third party kind of did the hack version of it. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so I was wondering if you remember this. I just thought I'd bring this out because I think it's a good topic. And, you know, I was looking at the channel, and a lot of people were wondering, or a lot of people were curious. That's why I retired my MK3. And I also had, this is in the retirement, but this is like an archive. This is like a keepsake, you know, because it was hard to get. And for me, getting this was really cool because the viewership, the fans, the supporters I had helped me get this at a time where I really struggled to get equipment. If you ever been in the game from young to old and know how hard it is to get expensive music equipment, and so this does not come easily, therefore it doesn't leave my hand easily, though I would like to see it get more use, but I'm one person and I like to stick to more of a consistent workflow where I'm not changing everything over. So let me know what you think. And also I got a listening party on the 29th. If you like tracks or if you make beats yourself or got songs, I want to check them out on the 29th on my channel on YouTube. I'm Dilio and you're watching Dilio T2K.